Hey guys, how are you? Wes Arnold back with you for another amazing video. Here with our awesome tech from West Chicago, Nicole Chalk. How you doing, Nicole?
Good, how are you today, Wes?
Good, thank you for joining us. We're also with the man with a beautiful head of hair, Mike Rasmussen.
Thank you,
From
Wes.
Arrowhead Breakers. He is the guy that literally delivers every breaker that we have in the building. Mike, welcome.
Thank you, Wes. Thank you very much.
Why don't you just run through here exactly just tell us a little bit about the breakers, what they do, what machines they might go on, so on and so forth.
Sure. This is an Arrowhead Rock Drill R65. This is about a 5th generation breaker. Arrowhead's been around a long time. Basically, company philosophy is let's make it simple so a general contractor can work on it and it doesn't have to always come back into a shop. So simple is better, not complicated. This little R65 here happens to be one of our most versatile machines, or hammers. It runs on basically your 3.5 metric ton mini excavator. It covers that wide range of the most common mini excavators out there. As you can see, basically you have your hoses, a gas charge port here, and your tool. So you basically just hook it up, put it on the machine, give it a little grease, plug it in, and go. Very reliable machine, not a lot of moving parts, only 2 inside, and very simple to work on. Very simple to change the tool, and very simple to basically work on if you ever had any problems with it. So it's a good piece of equipment.
You mentioned the simplicity, but these machines, these breakers, what do they fit in terms of equipment? Like, I know they fit on excavators and skid loaders, but what sizes? Is there a size range?
Yes, we have a whole range of hammers out there. We go all the way down to our little R40, which will fit on basically your smallest mini excavators or your SKs or your walk-behind mini skids. All the way up, we go all the way up to 300 class excavators, your big machines out doing in the quarry work, or the ones you see on the highway tearing down the overpasses.
So basically just switching plates out and switching breakers can make them versatile, and they can basically run on
Exactly.
different
We also have a full skid steer line, so anything you want a piece of equipment wise, we can basically put a breaker on it. If it can run a breaker, we've got a breaker for it.
Awesome, Mike. So right now what we're going to do is maybe we could break this unit down to show how simple it is.
Yes, definitely.
And we'll have Nicole here and you wrenching on it and just break it down, and just then we can go over some components and just look at the insides.
Yes, most definitely. I do want to show you the insides, because with the Arrowhead there is one very unique quality to it. We buffer this hammer. Inside this box there is no metal to metal contact. We use isolators to keep that hammer suspended in there. Less wear and tear on your machine.
That's what I'm talking about, Mike. All right, let's get going.
Hey, Stevie. Just a rubber donut we take out. Tool retaining pin comes out again. Tool comes out, and as you can see, that literally took about a minute, if that. That's how simple an Arrowhead tool changes. Easy to do in the field, guys. Very easy to do. So if you're changing bits up from a braking tool to a tamping tool, or an asphalt cutting tool, or say you need a real long tool to get down into a hole, literally, as long as you have the other tool with you, it's a 1-minute change on the job site. And actually, no special tools, a screwdriver. Basically what we're doing is to hold a bracket on that would mount to the mini excavator or the machine. It's a 6-bolt configuration, and that allows us to bolt any bracket for any make or model of machine onto this hammer. So again, makes it versatile. You're not having to worry about adjusting pins or getting spacers made. You just slap a whole new bracket on, 5-minute change. This hammer could go to multiple different machines out in the field. Makes it simple.
Tell us what we just saw. What did you guys just do, and what is this unit right here?
Basically, all we've done is taken off the top bracket, set it down here on the ground, the piece that hooks to the machine, the mini excavator, And now you are technically looking at what does all the work. This is what we call a power cell, or a hydraulic hammer just in the bare with no brackets, no tool, no anything. The unique thing with the Arrowhead are these little guys. These were designed, oh Lord, about 15 years ago, and we are about the only hammer company in the industry to totally cover the lower end of the breaker and the top end of the breaker. And the reason I say that is all your heat is generated from these 2 points in a hydraulic hammer. And by covering them, most companies, if you don't do the buffers right, will overheat the breaker and the machine that it's running on. This material happens to be very special. It's almost like a roller coaster wheel. It's designed to disperse heat. So basically, as this end heats up, the heat is transferred to here and out through the box to help keep the hammer cool. Heat is a hydraulic hammer's one of their biggest enemies because they run the machines a little bit hard on their hydraulics, and they generate a lot of heat because you have that tool moving in and out, and you have compressed gas, nitrogen gas in the top expanding with the heat. So basically what we're looking at here is the lower end of a breaker. We call from here down the chuck housing or the tool end. Your tool bit goes in there. This is our main cylinder body. This is where our piston is doing the work. The oil's going in and out of the hammer to make the breaker move, the piston move, which strikes the tool top. And back here we call this our back head or gas head. This is where we fill a little chamber full of nitrogen gas right through here, and that nitrogen gas acts as our power, our spring. So in simple terms, oil comes in, pushes a piston against compressed nitrogen, compressing it more. Oil leaves, a piston comes down and smacks the top of the tool. Basic, simple principle of how a hammer works.
He's like a robot, folks. I mean, literally you press play and everything just flows out. It's amazing. So Mike, they are simple, right?
Yes.
So it's very simple. You can actually work on these tools. Nicole, do you feel like they're easy to work on as a tech?
They are quite simple to work on. It's just a matter of some seals inside.
Seals inside. So what are some of the things that happen, because obviously breakers do break down.
Yes.
What are some of the reasons why that might happen? Like misuse?
Misuse happens to be the biggest one. If you actually take care of these breakers, they last a very, very long time. But some of the common mistakes is when you're operating your machine, you're not pushing this tool tip right here, which is sit inside the hammer, onto your material and putting weight on it. Once you do that, that pushes this tool into the hammer and engages. Then you want to hit the trigger and fire the hammer. Another big mistake is hitting the trigger with this not on the ground.
So what are these called? Dry hits?
Dry hits, dry firing, blank firing, a big no-no. Because basically what you're doing is our piston inside this breaker is coming down and hitting itself instead of the tool and the material.
Right.
Another big no-no is prying. When you get this tool stuck in a rock or concrete, which you will on occasion, trying to leverage it out. Don't do that. Hit the trigger, fire the hammer, and try to pull it straight back out.
Correct. It's not a pry tool.
Exactly.
Right, right.
It looks good to pry and pop concrete and rocks or other material out of the ground or that. It's not meant for that. It is not designed for that, and that is one of the big ways customers or people break their hammer or their tool.
All right, Nicole, so we're gonna just get this thing back together, so
Absolutely.
do your thing. Because I know I'm just gonna get in your way. Nicole, do you have any quick pointers on maintenance on these machines?
Oh, absolutely. Well, these units are very simple for maintenance. I mean, it's really just a grease point on here and making sure you have the proper charge. Now, on the unit that you're attaching this to, you do want to make sure that your hydraulic system is up and working just as it should be. Filters have been changed and your hydraulic oil is full. That's it. Very simple.
Extra credit. Extra
Yeah.
credit. That's fantastic. All right, Mike, so this breaker is very versatile.
Yes.
Let's go quickly over the different tools that you can get, just some of the tools that we have here that you can actually put in and change the dynamics of this one tool.
Yes, that's a very good point, Wes. These hammers are not just for breaking concrete and rock. Right here we have a tamper tool. A flat tool on the bottom, you can go into trenches and repack your material once you've done your work. We have our standard moil point or pencil point, as you can see. We have a flat tool here, we call it a blunt. This one actually is a little bit special, has a hole in for busting rivets. And our chisel point. Basically, another way to break concrete or rock, moil or chisel, your choice. But we can also do any length you want. And we do make other dynamic tools like asphalt cutters. So let Wes know. We can make it for you.
There's a wide variety. It's not just breakers.
Correct.
We can get a bunch of different things, which we'll actually probably show you across the bottom, you know, all the different types of products that we have. We have also skid loader breakers just intended for skid loader use.
Correct, yes. Tractor loader backhoes,
Exactly.
mini excavators, skid steers, big excavators, small excavators, your little SK walk behinds. We
Perfect.
can put a hammer on any of those.
Arrowhead breakers have two different lines. You have your R series, which is exclusively designed for excavator use. Then over here, you have your E series, which are a little more robust, and they're made exclusively for skid and track machines. Thanks again for tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this page. Nicole, thank you for lending us your time.
Thanks, Wes.
And Mike, thank you so much for your expertise. I really appreciate it.
Anytime,
okay,
Wes.
guys, get back to work.
First Choice Equipment. We're not just building your community, we're also part of your community.
Joel, do you want to get a video of the lunch lady? That's the lunch lady. You know, they had cheesesteak grinders today.